Hi, this is Nathan Hikes with the GROWMARK FS Agronomy Minute. As we move towards spring and begin having sustained average daily temperatures several degrees above freezing, our small grains are going to start breaking dormancy in what is commonly called green up. So we'll start seeing our fields look a cast of green, and those plants will begin a rapid growth. So as soon as we can, there's several steps that we can take getting out on those fields to help optimize our yields. First, we want to get out there and scout what exactly we have in our small grain stands. For exactly how to do that, you can consult one of our earlier Agronomy Minute videos. Once you have the count of how many plants per square foot you can have a rough idea of what relative yield you can expect. If it's fewer than 15 plants per square foot, that field is not going to be optimum yielding and might be a candidate for termination and switching to another crop. If it's 15 to 20 plants per square foot, it does have potential to yield okay, but you're really going to want to push the number of tillers. You're going to want at least 4 good tillers on those plants. And if you have 20 or more plants per square foot with 3 or 4 good tillers, you should be setting up to have a nice yield. Now, while you're looking at the field, you might also want to take a look at if there's any diseases coming in, especially snow molds, if your stand is uniform or if there's any spots that are killed out, and then what winter annual weeds are coming in, like chickweed and henbit or purple dead nettle. So once you're aware of those problems, you can start addressing them in a later application. The biggest thing we're going to want to do early in the season is apply nitrogen. Getting a shot of nitrogen on as soon as we can to that young growing plant is going to help push more tillers to increase yield and make that plant a lot more vigorous. So you're going to want to target those iffy stands, those 15 to 20 plant per square foot stands, or the ones that are a little bit later and the plants are smaller. Those are going to be the fields you want to target to get that N on as early as possible. And then you can, as soon as those are done, you can get on to your better fields and still push that yield with this early shot of N. We'd like to see about 30 to 50 pounds of N getting on here as soon as possible. That can be either liquid or dry. You're generally not going to want to put all of your N on at this time, especially if it's a liquid. If you're going dry, you could do a triple blend with some urea to be immediately available, some ammonium sulfate, and then some per cell per yield to be available later in the season. And in that case, you could put all your N on up front now. You're also going to want some sulfur too, at least 3 to 5 pounds of sulfur to help get that plant going and help your protein. There's several other things to consider as well. While it's optimal to put most of your fertility, especially P and K, on in the fall, if you didn't have that opportunity, you still can place that on in the spring as early as possible so your wheel traffic doesn't damage your crop and you're still going to see benefit in yield and standability. It's less optimal to place manure on in the spring because you could smother some of the plants, or it could be chunks could be in your way when you're combining. But if it is necessary to spread that manure, it's preferable to go with either a liquid or a litter and get that spread on as thin as possible so it doesn't impede the young plants. Now, especially if you've got a stand that's behind, there are a few other products that you can place on it with that nitrogen to help get it going and really help push it a little bit harder. For example, you could put on some Periscope plant growth promoter and also either some SP1 or some Certify to really help encourage those young plants to set up more tillers and to push the yield. But the key thing is to see what stands you have and to get on them as early as possible. Now, if we realize that a stand is poor early on, we've got time to make the switch to something else, that we can treat it just like a cover crop and terminate it and go to corn or soybeans. Or if it's a forage crop and we really need some spring forage, we could seed some oats in with it, and then we could chop the oats and the wheat or whatever winter small grain we're using all together. Now, the maturity is going to be a little different, so we'll have to determine whether we're going to push for top yield or top quality, but that is a way to still get a decent yield. If you've got some small grains that either you're unsure of what to do with or you want help in optimizing your yield for this year, I suggest you come talk to one of our GROWMARK FS crop specialists or visit growmarkfs.com today. Thank you.